How's it going, everybody? We're back for day one at GALE. We're here at the Sport Beach activation for the Stagwell network of companies. And we're here with Shannon Pruitt, the Global Chief Marketing Officer of the Stagwell Brand Performance Media Network. Shannon, thanks so much for saying hi, spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me, Dylan. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So tell me a little bit about your role. What are you up to these days at Stagwell?
So I am the Global Chief Marketing Officer of Stagwell Brand Performance Network, which is an amalgamation of about 10 agencies focused on creative and commerce and B2B and travel publishing, but with a data and media spine. So our largest, media agency is Assembly. Yep. We have GALE, we've got Inc. and Macaria and Multiview and a bunch of different agencies that basically service clients in a variety of capacities, but also where possible, I really focus on how can we bring together the right solution for a client in the event that they need, loyalty and transformation, and how do we put these capabilities together to make sure that we're
breaking down silos and making sure everybody's working together.
That clients are getting their problems, challenges solved and addressed, not just about selling a particular service.
I love that. Very cool.
Well,
let's talk about what you're doing at GALE this week. So, Sport Beach, is this the second year?
What?
Is this the second year?
Third. This
okay.
is the third year.
So you guys have kind of, I'd say, taken over GALE. This is kind of the place to be, the hot party, the hot hang for the week. How'd you guys do that so fast and kind of come out of nowhere and make such a splash with this activation?
Really the 72 and Sunny, right? It was one of our premier creative agencies. Yep. We're putting some thought in. Stagwell's still, 4 years old, right? Yeah. So the acquisition of NBC and so it was really how can we create a space for people where they want to come together around a cultural, kind of cultural momentum, right? We're seeing obviously sports and live sports and in a media lens, right? Like all the money is going to where the eyeballs are, and that's really around sport. And so this was a great opportunity to bring all of our agencies together, all of our clients together, and sort of speak to the broader marketing community and invite them in, right? It's sort of like great, I'm content background, right?
Course,
content should be invitational, I believe, right? Yep. It should be part of the experience, not disrupt it. And so I think this has, obviously become amazingly successful. So we're super proud and excited about that. But yeah, it's been a really incredible journey.
And then how do you think about sports, big picture, and the work that you're doing across the agency? I had the opportunity to interview Damian Journey a while back from 72. And he talked a lot about the transformation of sports marketing really becoming kind of ubiquitous with creator marketing, especially in female sports. Female creators seem to be a little bit better at the content creation game, maybe because they've had to be scrappier and hustle a little bit more than traditional male athletes that are in the big leagues, because they're kind of focused on just the sporting element, but not so much the creator marketing elements. But why do you think sports is such a hot topic across the media landscape right now?
I think you're seeing the opportunity of community. I think social has impacted sports, creator, everything. Obviously, creator marketing, really getting all of its tailwinds through social media, right? Yep. That's really where it started, digitally native, digitally first, all the things. But I think what it's also allowed is these community, like this community rally point around specific sports and around specific people. And to that end, I think, your point about women's sports and female athletes, they a little bit scrappier, but also just by nature, I think genuinely leaning into appreciation of their fans and not so much about and I think, it's probably also societal, right? For a long time, boys played sports and boys, were accoladed for playing the sport. And it was really about that and not so much about the fans. And really social media and the way that we connect and consume content now has given rise to the fan. Right. So the fan has a lot, is empowered, is enabled. They are seeking and have an expectation of connection now in a different way. And I think, the female athletes sort of leaned into that first, and now you're kind of seeing that as well on, the male athlete side. But and ultimately, all these people are creators, right? They're just in a way that they're all sort of becoming entrepreneurs.
Yeah, some of them have different affinities to gaming, or they do a podcast, or they launch a direct-to-consumer brand, or they're entrepreneurs in other ways. They're 360, always on storytellers, just like regular creators do.
And I think that's about Sport Beach is actually part of Sport Beach for their attraction to it is that we're here to celebrate all of it, not just their performance on the field or performance on the court, or, this is really about all of them, the whole athlete, the whole creator, the brand themselves, as the person, right? They've spent years of their lives dedicated to being like the highest performing individual in their craft. And now we can talk about how they're trying to do that in other ways and extend that beyond just sport.
I love that. Do you think we've crossed the Rubicon where fans identify more with players than they do with teams?
Yes. I think also, that is also impacted by, and we started to see that, I think actually gaming really brought about, like you have gaming, you've got media rights and the way they're being, sliced and diced, right?
They're not so much held in an ivory tower that can't be touched or utilized.
Like you used to watch NFL, you used to program, right? It's like, oh, the Cowboys are playing the 49ers. I need to watch that game. Now you've got Red Zone. And so now you're watching all the games, right? So fantasy has actually, I believe, radically changed the way that people are connecting with and interacting with sport, because you're engaged around a player and their stats, but also I think it's also
with your friends.
I think people, are diving in more into these athletes, but also it's weirdly also making it harder because, you only care about the play that's, you've got the over-under, or you've got,
these micro moments within a game where points can be added. And then you have, of course, the online gambling element that takes it to another level.
And you're not necessarily invested as much in the player or the athlete anymore. You're invested in like their performance.
Right?
That's so I think it's really interesting in the democratization, like how everything's sort of coming together, but also being democratized at the same time. I think it's just an interesting, there's like a little bit of a friction there, and it'll be really interesting to see because there's so much money being dumped into the space.
Totally. Do you have a point of view on the leagues now the NCAA leagues now sharing revenues with the players?
I think it's fast. I mean, listen, I think it has to follow the momentum of the expectation of athletes. Is the truth, right? If they're being monetized significantly and have been for such a long time. And listen, previously the infrastructure supported that, right? Like the whole infrastructure of sports and entertainment and all these things supported those types of models. But it was only a matter of time, right? You also have a generation of people, Gen Z, early millennials or, late millennials, I guess, their expectation of how they are rewarded, compensated, validated is just coming up in sport in a different way. It's the same conversation as like, what's my work-life balance in an interview? And Gen Z is like, what? What do you mean work-life balance?
It's across the spectrum. It applies to athletes, Gen Z athletes as well.
We're all like, we don't understand work-life balance. What do you mean?
I love that. So you have a few panels this week. What are you talking about?
I'm really excited. So tomorrow, actually talking at Ad Week, and I'll be talking about music and the transformation of immersive experiences and the impact of AI in music. And I'm super passionate about right now, like how AI is impacting the creator space. I think that I recently was a founding partner of Alpha with Stagwell Pereira. And I did a panel at our last summit around the creator economy and like the impact it will have in boardrooms, right? And like how wildly mind-blowing what is about to happen, right? Like how do you think about revenue and compensation structure, rights, right? Like risk, regulation, like it's so fascinating to me. So anyway, I'm talking about that tomorrow, but in the context of music, which I'm really excited about. And I think it's like what happened to, when we first started downloading music onto iPods, and now we're streaming and now we're going into a new world. So I think that's going to be super fun. I have a lot of content studio interviews with, Marissa Jarrett, the CMO of 7-Eleven, who's releasing really interesting research. Doug Zarkin. Just some really interesting people.
I interviewed somebody else who was talking about 7-Eleven's loyalty programs and how they're reinventing the game.
It's so incredible. I just had we just did our prep call and I was just like, she, shared the research and it was amazing. And Michael Lacroix is going to be here from US Bank, who's the CMO of US Bank. And I'm talking to him about, they're the launch partner of Happy Gilmore 2. So they've gotten into golf and they're doing a big relationship with the professional lacrosse League, also
I think
here.
they're supporting kids golf too. My daughter was in a commercial with US Bank and the junior PGA or something like that.
It's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, sort of back to what we were talking about, the social media has created this grassroots ability for these things that traditionally we're not getting big media rights deals or any visibility or coverage at all, but the community is now tied together digitally, which has given them, tailwinds that they needed in order to get. It's the same thing that happened to women's sports, right? Like we're, here we are.
Now there's a whole other league of like junior athletes and it's crazy. Even like flag football for high school kids and stuff. It's like it's never ending, but I think that's
it's never
the ubiquitousness of choice and the options to consume when and where you want, and all levels of play, ages, demographics, and countries.
Totally.
Like, did you read that app that launched in India and like hit Netflix level subscribers because they got the rights to cricket or something like that? It was like wild.
I mean, it's like cricket.
It's like
and
overnight they had the scale of Netflix.
That were traditionally just either. And I think it's also geographic, right?
Yeah.
Like you also have the fact that like suddenly the World Cup of cricket is happening on Long Island, right? And it has all this momentum and it's like huge attendance and, because these passionate fans now have a way to rally around their sport and get the, credibility, visibility that they've all, they all deserve. These are all, it's not just NFL and NBA and, PGA or Live or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting time.
Love it. Well, Shannon, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights.
Thank
Always
you.
great to see you.
You too.
If our friends at home want to connect with you or learn more about what you're up to, anywhere you want to send them?
LinkedIn probably is my publishing platform
that's
of
the
choice.
Go-to. All right.
Yeah.
Shannon Pruitt, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.